What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/AmITheButthole. Alright, this story's called, Am I the Butthole for not explicitly telling my grandpa I'm married to another woman? My wife and I are both women in our late 20s. We've been together for 4 years and got married this summer after getting engaged in the spring. Due to restrictions and personal preference, we did a courthouse wedding with each of our sisters as our maids of honor. It was a relatively simple affair, and my wife and I are pleased with how low-key it was. Before we got married, I was not out to my extended family members. I was very close with my grandma and was afraid of how she might react. Sadly, she passed away shortly before our wedding, so she never got to know that my wife was more than a friend. I'm not very close to my grandpa, but I do try to call him once a week to chit-chat. He's very reserved and soft-spoken, so our convos are typically 5 minutes of fluff about work and the weather. I'd introduced my wife to my grandparents. They met her a few times before my grandma passed away. They only knew her as my roommate and friend, as I wasn't out at the time. But I would tell my grandma about fun things we did together, and honestly, I think she might have known that we were a couple. In retrospect, Grandpa probably didn't pick up on it because I'm not nearly as close to him as I was with her, so when we visited, he would say hi and chat with us for a little bit before going in his workshop while we stayed with my grandma in the house. After the wedding, I decided I couldn't hide who I was any longer and posted our wedding pics to social media, saying that we had gotten married and I was happy to spend the rest of my life with the woman I loved. Many of my extended family reached out to congratulate us, and the overall response was very positive. For Christmas, we send out Christmas cards to all of my relatives with our engagement and wedding. Fast forward to last week. My parents, siblings, wife, and I stopped by to visit my grandpa and exchange presents with masks on. When we got to his house, I said, Grandpa, you remember wife's name? And he said hi and asked about her parents, and that was that. Everyone was sitting in a circle in the living room. I was sitting next to my wife on the couch with my arm on the back of the couch around her while we went around and everyone opened presents. I got a cookbook that my grandma had picked out for me before she passed, and I started to tear up. My wife held my hand for a while to comfort me. The next day, my mom reached out saying that Grandpa didn't know that my wife and I were together until he saw me hanging all over my wife. I'm sure these are my mom's words. I told her that I genuinely thought he knew, and that if someone hadn't talked to him about it before after we posted on social media, he would have realized from the Christmas cards, which featured a close-up of the rings. He had asked my mom about it after the party, and she had to tell him. She says it should have been from me. My mom told me it was my responsibility to tell him and that he shouldn't have found out that way. Am I the butthole for not specifically telling my grandpa I'm married to a woman? My mom said it isn't the end of the world, but I can tell she's kind of upset. My wife said that she didn't think any of the public displays of affection we did have was not over the top, and nothing my siblings wouldn't do with their SOs, who weren't present, and a friend said that it's not on me to make sure everyone knows about my marriage. Okay. I think you're kind of hung up on the whole another woman issue, and I don't think that's the main point of contention here. And while I can 100% understand why you might think that because, you know, it's a grandparent and, you know, boomer brain. But, like, for instance, he didn't know until after you left, or, like, it seems like he didn't know you got married at all. And so, like, when you went there, you could have, like, introduced her as your wife or something like that. Or tell him, hey, I got married. And yeah, that's your grandpa. I'm just saying, like, it seems like he just didn't know you were married. Like, you're his grandkid. Like, I'm sure he'd want to know that. I mean, it's not like you did anything outright bad, but, you know, if you're asking who's the butthole, closest person to a butthole in this situation would be you, OP. And don't crucify me in the comments, because you guys be doing that. It's bonkers, man. Alright, this story's called Update! Am I the butthole for not explicitly telling my grandpa I'm married to another woman? What? I just want to thank everyone who commented. I read through them all and it really helped me process the situation. I spoke with my mom a few hours the night after I posted, and she apologized for her comment about my wife and I hanging all over each other. I apologized for getting her in the situation she was in, and that I genuinely thought that he had known. She basically said that it was okay, he knows now, and not to worry. She had talked to him and told him that we were together but didn't tell him we were married, which she said needed to come from me. I agreed. I said I was going to give him some time to process and reflect on things and that I didn't want to reach out too soon before he was ready. I waited a week to talk to him. In that time, an aunt of mine said she spoke with him. They spoke for a while, and his general sentiment was that he was worried that we could lead happy lives together, i.e., could we find a home? Could we have kids? Would we be able to keep our jobs? She said they had a really good talk and that she was able to reassure him on his worries. She told me I should talk to him and give him a chance to see how happy we are. This weekend, I went to visit him. My aunt and mom came with too. After we chatted for a while, I told my grandpa that I had some news. I told him that my wife and I had actually gotten married this summer. I made it clear that it was a very small ceremony and that our parents couldn't even attend. And that because of that, we are planning on having a big wedding celebration in a year or two after Brovid is over so all of our family and friends could celebrate. I explained that I was just nervous to tell him and that I was worried what he would think. He said,
"Well, I'm 85. My opinion doesn't matter."
We talked a little bit more. I made sure to mention that we were very happy and that our jobs knew and our neighbors knew when we bought our house. I also mentioned that my wife's parents went to the same college my parents and all my mom's siblings went to, and he thought that was pretty cool. I told him that I didn't have a chance to tell Grandma before she passed and that I really miss her and had hoped she could see how happy we were together. We all had a little cry and talked about how much we miss her. The next morning, a different aunt called me and said that when she went and visited Grandpa, he was all excited.
"Did you hear? We're gonna have a big party after Brovid. OP is having a wedding celebration."
She and I had a good talk, and it sounded like Grandpa is doing well with the news and that everything worked out okay. Ew, good stuff. I can imagine it's really terrifying, to come out to your family, but goddamn, waiting until you are married. Again, I can understand. Not everyone is accepting, but, it might be worth it to give your family a chance. Because, like Grandpa, he liked it. He's happy, and that makes me happy. Alright, this story's called, Would I Be the Butthole for Reporting a Coworker to HR for Trying to Feed Me? What? Okay, I'm gonna skip over this edit, read it at the end. I, 24 male, am a small man, 5'4" and 103 pounds as of my last physical. Wow. I'm well aware I'm at an unhealthy weight. My entire life I've been small, mostly due to illnesses and myriad allergies, and it's admittedly a sore spot. I'm working with my doctor to gain weight while still fitting in with my dietary restrictions. No meat, dairy, gluten, or nuts. And honestly, I'm so much better than I was several months ago, and am proud of the progress I've made. Hey, good shiznits. A coworker, Peg, 30, female, got pregnant and recently returned to work late November. She's been increasingly overt and uncomfortable in her concern for me. Peg made and brought in cupcakes for her return, and when I thanked her for thinking of us but refused, citing my gluten allergy, she was visibly upset. She didn't shout or complain much, just sighed heavily and said that she would put this one in the break room with the rest. I felt awful. Then she brought me a steak sandwich the next day on gluten-free bread. Again, I thanked her, but I had brought in my own lunch and needed to focus on that. Peg told me it was in the fridge for when I finished. Ended up bringing it home so she wouldn't feel bad and gave it to my boyfriend. Next day, she approached again. I refused again. She insisted. By now, we weren't alone in the break room. She joked that it was rude to refuse a home-cooked meal in favor of that, my lunch. At that point, I just took it and thanked her. Boyfriend ended up eating. Then she just started leaving bagged snacks on my desk. She would approach with a snack or a portion of whatever she made for dinner the night before and not leave me be until I had taken it. I went to our boss and explained that I have felt uncomfortable and was told that she was probably feeling maternal and it would negatively impact morale to discourage her. So I've been taking notes since then. What days Peg has given what, when, who witnessed it, etc. From December 8th to now, she's done it 23 times. Yesterday, I took Peg aside and explained that while I was touched, I would appreciate it if she wouldn't bring in anything else. She said that I should have said something sooner, she was only trying to help, have I seen myself in a mirror, does your boyfriend like you starving yourself, among other phrases. Livid, I told her that maybe I didn't feel like sharing my personal medical history with her just so that my wishes were respected. For God's sake, we work in a hospital! Don't you know anything about HIPAA? We parted from there, me childishly storming off and her in tears. Have I already been a huge ass, and would a report to HR just be the icing on the ass cake? Yikes. Freaking OP, not the butthole. You tried to be polite and she got all weird about it. However, I wouldn't hold it against your coworker too much, all right? Next time you see her, just, clear the air. Just be like, hey, I'm sorry I snapped at you. It's just, explain why you didn't like what she said, and just be calm about it. And she seems to be a kind person, a caring individual, if not a little silly. Just explain it to her and give her the benefit of the doubt. And if she escalates it further, then you can go to HR and spread your icing on ass cakes all over. All right, this story's called Update. Would I be the butthole for reporting a coworker for feeding me? Honestly, I've never more immediately regretted something. This exploded spectacularly. I went to HR saying that the matter was settled, but I wanted it documented. Subsequently, was told that there would be an investigation and the incidents would be corroborated with witnesses, because, as is the full record, I claim is severe enough to warrant potential action for Pei and several other coworkers who also engaged in her behavior. HR started the process, apparently immediately because I walked in yesterday to a crap storm. This plunged the department into civil war. Many agree Peg was out of line, some told me I should have kept the status quo, some said I was ungrateful and entitled. One said I should have handled this maturely and who could blame her when I look like that, and that I should be ashamed of myself. Another coworker suggested I work from home. Another told me he was sorry for not stepping in. I went to go get my lunch out of the fridge only to find someone had disposed of it and left behind the empty Tupperware. Nearly everyone has an opinion. The people in my corner have advised me to keep my head down and to take care. My boss held a meeting, first with Peg and me, then a second with just me. During the one with Peg, I was told to apologize for my part, and Peg likewise. I'm sorry if I made you uncomfortable by caring about your health. My boss asked if I was satisfied now. I brought up Peg's comments, and my boss said I invited them. No one would call that harassment, and I need to work on myself. Together, we went through each of the 23 events. She excused each of them until I was left to feel like I'd been harassing Peg. The next meeting was even worse. Effectively, boss said, I told you not to retaliate, and instead you searched Peg out to harass her. And your actions have expressed a worrying lack of cooperation with me and your team. She was also disappointed that instead of explaining that I needed her to resolve things, I escalated the situation well beyond the point of reason, and cruel to someone who only wanted to help. She said I won't get far in life, and I'm not likely to get anywhere vocationally if I can't be a team player and actively sabotage a happy workplace. She hoped I will learn from this teachable moment how to behave in a collaborative environment, as it's inappropriate to involve HR for small misunderstandings. Boyfriend is spitting mad. I'm just tired, confused, and hurt. HR seemed sympathetic. Boss is very clearly on Peg's side. The office is split and tense. Currently updating my resume and job search. It really does feel like a nightmare. Haven't felt good going into work for a while, and this just made it times worse. Talk about a hostile work environment. Yikes. What is with stupid office politics, man? Politics everywhere sucks. Everything sucks. I do think OP might have been a little bit harsh on Peg in the beginning. And then I'm sure Peg would have felt sympathetic maybe or felt bad, but the rest of the workplace got involved, and you have that stupid team mentality where it just reinforces your viewpoint and makes you hunker down as opposed to approaching the situation with an open mind. HR should have done their job with conflict resolution, and well, the freaking Peg should have listened to OP. Alright, this story's called, Am I the Butthole for Ruining My Child's Gender Reveal? Oh, are you that dude that was on the news a while ago? Starting some fires or something? I'm sorry, that was a stupid joke. Low-hanging fruit, Zach. Myself, 27 male, and my wife, 27 female, are having a boy. We already have a girl who is now 2. My wife is really into films, Oscar-type films, and she is like an analyzer when watching them, so she wanted to make a gender reveal short film. 10 minutes along to say we're having a girl. Kinda weird, but I went along with it. We posted it, and she was super happy with it, but it cost so much. She hired expensive cameras, we drove out to scenic areas for the right shot. I'm working full-time during this process. Exhausting. So we just found out that we're having a boy, and she started writing a script. I thought, there's no frickin' way I'm doing that again, so I posted on Facebook, we're having a boy. She's pissed at me, telling me to delete it, but the damage is done. I don't feel bad. I saved us at least 4,000 pounds. Whoa! What I don't get is why she's just making films about gender reveals. She can write a script about anything and not be on a strict 6 to 7 month time limit. This is a toughie. Alright, no, you're not the butthole. But I'm gonna say this, OP is in the wrong for just posting without talking to the wife first. Obviously, it's understandable this guy wants to save 4,000 pounds for a stupid-ass gender reveal. I'm sorry. I appreciate the artistic side of it, and if it's just an excuse for her to, you know, make a short film, that's cool. I'm happy for her. But like OP said, he's got the right idea with, like, why does she just have to do it with that? Like, this might have been, like, the first thing that really inspired her to do it, actually, but 4,000 pounds. However, OP knew she was writing the script and knew it was a big deal to her, so he definitely should have talked to her first. Alright, this story's called, Am I the Butthole for Respecting My Late Friend's Wish? Me, 25, male, and my late friend, 28, male, made a bet with each other that whoever had a longer life had to wear a short dress, heels, and lipstick to the deceased friend's funeral. He died first. Didn't really expect it that much. Well, the day of the funeral came, and I went in the dress code we agreed to. His wife and parents cried their eyes out, sobbing about how he was excited for them to see me in that dress. That cheeky son of a female dog. Some of my friends and my parents think what I did was inappropriate for a funeral and are calling me a butthole. All I see is I'm respecting a late friend's wishes. What the hell? No. No to the other idiots, okay? What's the funeral for? I mean, obviously, if we're being real, it's more for the people, like the dude's family or the friends and stuff like that. But in spirit, the funeral is supposed to be honoring the deceased, right? And if the deceased wanted his friend to show up in a dress to his own damn funeral, it's not a big deal. And and it's funny. It's funny. The ones that are upset and calling it out are the ones who aren't even freaking related to the dude. Shut up.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.